Pure phenomenology. In sections 34 through 46, Husserl shows that consciousness has its own kind of being that is different from the world while being intentionally directed at this world. And while the chapter under consideration might initially seem to introduce more confusion than clarity, it plays a pivotal role in establishing the possibility of a new phenomenological science that concerns itself with the essence of consciousness, specifically the bracketing of everything that is real in and through the phenomenological epoche results in, quote, gaining a new region of being, one that has previously been circumscribed in its distinctiveness, end quote. This region can be described in the language of Cartesian meditations as ego cogito cogitatum. That is, by bracketing the world, ourselves included, we retain pure consciousness with its intentional correlate and egoic centering, which are not two things, but one correlation. In addition, if we understand this chapter in the context of Husserl's overall effort, not just to establish a pure phenomenology that would provide insights into how we acquire knowledge of different kinds of ontological entities, but also to further develop the correlated ontologies of the different kinds of objects there are, we can perhaps understand Husserl's way of proceeding in these sections. That is, by describing what is experienced in psychological reflection as different from what is experienced in transcendent perception, and by clarifying the relation between the perceived thing and the object of physics. Husserl significantly broadens the scope of reality. In this way, he also significantly broadens the scope of his transcendental phenomenology, which, as a phenomenology of reason, spells out how knowledge is possible of individual realities that fall under different ontological regions of highest genera of reality, i.e., material thing and soul. As it appears, transcendent being is, for Husserl, even more multiform than he lets on in these passages, as both his initial description of the natural attitude and his concluding remarks on the task of a phenomenology of reason indicate. In addition to experiencing things and ourselves as psychological subjects, we experience objects that are practical and of value, and we experience ourselves as persons that are part of different kinds of communities: linguistic, social, political, historical, etc. And each type of transcendent being, or phenomena, has a corresponding phenomenological analysis that describes how this particular kind of objectivity, e.g., nature in itself, soul, value, community, person, shows up for us, and describes how we can acquire insight and knowledge of it in the corresponding empirical eidetic sciences. In his 1930 afterword to Ideas, Husserl points out, quote, that the world exists is entirely beyond doubt, but it is quite another matter to understand this indubitability which sustains life and positive science, and to clarify the ground of its legitimacy. It is to such an understanding that Husserl's transcendental phenomenology aspires. The chapter under consideration aids in this understanding insofar as it opens the transcendental dimension, the eidetic description of which allows us to acquire insights into the way that different kinds of objectivities are accessed in different kinds of conscious experience, and how knowledge can be had of them.